Welcome back to the old ballet with our old boot on the witness stand that somehow is still existing. I thought it was destroyed by Jikaku, but it appears that it's still there. Heads over to contest of my hollow chalice again, Roman Zisk. I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. But let's just decide, Roman Zisks. The prosecution seeks to be engaged, building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness. In order to he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the real Reaper of the ballet. I'll say the defense, let's go for it. But in the event the witness stand can be extremely dangerous, and Kazuma is no emotion at the moment. He's not thinking logically. Alright, he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this. I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friends. And what we must do. The defense has no objection, my lord. Aha! Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand. And I give a formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the Assassin Exchange. The Assassin Exchange. As you wish, my lord. As you wish. I never taken the life of another, nor I have instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper of the for years, and I was aware of Greg's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there is no reason to upset me of being behind the Assassin's Exchange. Really? That's your best case? So you deny all accusation by the prosecution, okay? But you are the Reaper of the ballet and you mastermind the Assassin Exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's fallacy, which alone I am in position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accuser to be untrue. Rather bunch of bollocks. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes. Tell me. Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? That's a big question. What brings us? I decided to uncover the truth. Straightforward, right to the point. If the truth proves your client to be guilty. From all my experience in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth cannot be hidden. Sooner or later will come out. So it is always my intention to work with my client in pursuing the truth. I want you to remember what you said. Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense proceed to the cross-examine the witness. Of course. I know what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction you are convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Really? There's a contradiction?
Objection!
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait, this is 10 years old from the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zix. What? My brother's autopsy report? I'm pleased to see that the defense does intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in court? What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel? This is the autopsy report of the professor's final victim. It is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson and Dr. Wilson and the defendant. Not that I call his name again, Professor. I personally researched all of the core records related to that case. Actually, I want to check something very quickly. Interesting. Personally researched all of the core records related to that case. Note that at the time autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls, and for the member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zix, it was unthinkable. but someone implored the powers that be allowed autopsy to go ahead, Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure. It was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document. As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did in turn produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshi Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moment, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. I enabled Law Van Zix here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelous victory in court. Rest in peace. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if it is really true. What? Could that saying be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer to send him to his death? That is outrageous! And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs to be protected. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain using 2 killers recruited for the assassin exchange. I think Kazuma doesn't know that the Strongheart was supposed to be the prosecutor of that case. 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this year courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham. I swore to myself that I prove it, which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost. You have to forgive me, I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to squash his emotion in the courtroom has failed. I was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago. You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation. As that happens, I have evidence. The weapon? The last weapon? The last will? So the court has heard across the channel to French with Gregson on the 31st. Went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Senshi Ro Jikoku. And my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what I already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on it, what autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Chikoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood that my true motive was... Right, I see. You're that Asogi, you're left, aren't you? What? You're gonna calm me down with that thing, is that it? That will very much depend on the answer you give me to my question. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth, that's all. Before we get into it, let me make you one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor, there's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So you admitted that. The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated. It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your lie depends on it. That's right. Even then. So that's when the tip of the sword broke. Oh, Katsumi-san. If the result of Clint Van Zee's autopsy were fabricated, then the investigation officer, Gregson, and the lead coroner, Wilson, must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in their way by one man, Lo Van Zisk. The leading case of the prosecution, Baron Van Zisk. In other words, the defender did have a cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly, and it was established earlier. It was to have to be Interriban himself or liest to Jikoku in Japan to avenge it? Ah, yeah. So it is followed that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused as courtroom by offenses. I think that he realized, everyone realized that.
Objection!
Maybe these two realized that. Katsumasogi. What? What you just told the court? Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate the evidence for the trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission. In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper. What? Lovanzisks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibility to one. If Lovanzisk isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there's only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too. You? I just had the feeling his name was going to come up. Just a feeling! Mild feeling that it was going to come up! Of course, how I could be so blind. Here! No. Oh my god, there's so many characters now. Where is he? Where is he? The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulate outcomes is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Mill Strongheart. Understand? Lord Strongheart? Yes, it's true. 10 years ago, the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court, but he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Six, had been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. No joke, kid. Well, Lord Van Six. 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined. What evidence I ever given? The autopsy report you I spent my life since then believing I was in your death for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the Spectre and the Coroner to break the law 10 years ago. That same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world, Seishiro Jikoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the banner. The court waits your response, my lord. Teams may be very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you it is no joke. Consider this as a formal accusal by the defense. It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense claims are earth and nuisance, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoing with the Lord Clint Van Six autopsy.
Objection!
That's certainly untrue. But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson dead now, unless you were thinking someone else goes to the stand. You mean to say? I forgot you the system works in your little backwater country, but in the cards of the British Empire without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that cannot possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. I should say Order in court. Following Inspector Gregson's murder in the light of the daughter Wilson's death as well. There's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? So that was the real purpose of the assassination exchange. This court has no business ranking over the course of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections. more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we could down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify. There's no one left. There is someone. There is someone. He's going extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, and so far as dispatching an assassin on the way to Japan to show Dr. Wilson's silence. The society won't say anything against Robert.
Objection!
There's still one ray of hope. There is one guy that is alive, and also there is another person too. There is one person who could still testify about that. I'm very ridiculous. There's no one left. Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me! God damn it, tell me! Kazuma. Please, the trial cannot end. Not yet. I'm not doing this for you. Oh, I love it. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the truth. The person. So the option will be. She's not here. Dr. Saidi is not here. Yeah, she's not here. So the only other option is Mikotoba, Eugene.
Take that!
The assistant. Heaven help us, another Japanese. Heaven help us! An expert in forensic medicine, my lord, Professor Eugene. Eugene, no! Kurase! 16 years ago, he came to London with Seijiro Jijoku and Genshi Akodo as a visiting student. And what could this testimony possibly tell us? Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature. He was the primary assistant duty to keep written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end of the silence. Oh, in other words, Professor Mikotoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. He's not going to. The defense demand is denied. What? Professor Mikotoba is allowed that. It's very minor because I'm not here to stand. Of course he's gonna fucking refuse it. Of course he's not going to agree to it. Strong has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's still concerned about protecting himself. Prosecutor Sogi, let me refresh your memory. You seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago you accused the defendants of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin's exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. At this time I don't have the requisite evidence. That is exactly why we need witness testimony. The Professor, case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities. But we all know what will happen, and just give the mastermind a whole bunch of time to cover his tracks again. Which you mean me? Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date, as you, Prosecutor Sogi. You'll be remanded following those proceedings, willingly, just since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. Court is... Sholmes? This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are close to the general.
Objection!
We'll leave the courtroom at once. Mr. Sean was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jikoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Maelstrom. It's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. As it really, why will that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of this trial to answer that question for me. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can be. That the shock of being accused of being the reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered. It will be seen that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end this juncture. After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along the prevarications of your superiors? Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices, although that is our job. It has emerged from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you, and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open. The auditors of the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence! He's right. The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, we must stand. But will they really do? Since dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person here present can honestly... What? The trial should go on, summon the witness! That's right, we need to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is removed. My lord, you assure those present that you will uncover the whole truth here. Indicate yourself outlandish. The truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleague in the gallery. Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice. In your fight, it will be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from this allegation. Bailiff, arrange the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene. Arrest won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Mikotoba is a close friend of mine. He come with me today and is waiting at the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Komotori is here in the courthouse? Mr. Shom, you know this will happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is better positioned to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it. I really don't know. Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Jones. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? I trust you have Ari's little luggage hand with you? Yes, absolutely. I still in my pocket. Please send her regards as a reminder. You find yourself at the dead end, there, at your disposal. Just one tap, if you please. Of course. In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. Testify! Testify! So it's a lot stronger. Story of the ballet. Where is Catholic story going to take me, I wonder? Just now, how David are about to plunge into the blackness of the abyss. I'm ready. Ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors he tries to drown me under. Testify! Testify! Oh, ladies and gentlemen, to be continued. Again, that's definitely not the last bit of the trial. And we're gonna end the episode right now, right here. Enjoy, hope you love it. And I hope you find the truth in your heart so you can conquer your fears. I don't know why I said that.